The following is based on word-for-word ideas dreamed up by some fucked-up Republicans.
Well, James, I think the answer to that question comes on page 5. It says, quote, "The noxious tenets of critical race theory and gender ideology should be excised from curricula in every public school in the country. These theories poison our children, who are being taught on the one hand to affirm that the color of their skin fundamentally determines their identity and even their moral status, while on the other they are taught to deny the very creatureliness that inheres in being human and consists in accepting the givenness of our nature as men or women. Allowing parents or physicians to reassign the sex of a minor is child abuse and must end. For public institutions to use taxpayer dollars to declare the superiority or inferiority of certain races, sexes, and religions is a violation of the Constitution and civil rights law and cannot be tolerated by any government anywhere in the country."
I know what it says, sir. My question wasn't what our position is on critical race theory or transgender ideology. My question is, what are we going to do to people who insist on teaching CRT or allowing drag queens to read to school children?
What will we do? We will arrest and imprison the bastards. That's what we'll do. This mandate for leadership will ensure that the next conservative president will have the power and means to put an end to this harmful and godless behavior. Let's be clear. Every policy proposal in this document is necessary to wrestle the United States away from woke progressivism. How do you think the next president is going to be able to do that if we can't throw some motherfuckers behind bars?
But won't some people see that as...
Guess what, son? We'd be arresting people who want to destroy America. Nothing about Project 25 is dictatorial. It is wholly constitutional and is a democratic solution to the cancers that eat away at America. No real American would ever smell a whiff of dictatorship in what we're about to do.
Knock, knock. Hey, fellas, the next conservative president, that would be me, is here for the photo shoot. Now, rate the fit. At first, I was going to rock a military uniform with lots of medals, tons of medals. But I said to myself, self, why don't we roll with a classic? So Donald Julius Trump it is. Now, what do you think?
Yuck! Where are we? This has supervillain origin story written all over it.
Well, we're already here, so we might as well go in. Just stay alert.
Welcome, Supa Sista. I'm so pleased you accepted my invitation. And what's this? You brought a green-themed friend.
Well, Fred, the last time I accepted an invitation from the Eyes of Ra, I got ambushed by a team of AI killer robots.
As I explained in a subsequent DM, that wasn't us. The Ra weapon of choice is a lawsuit that buries you in paperwork, drains your funding, and revokes your reserved parking, not laser beam shooting androids.
So you claim. But just in case another "that wasn't us" faction shows up, I thought I'd bring backup. And what's with this meeting spot? Did we just miss a virgin sacrifice or something?
You mean the pentagram and the candles? My son's a rapper, and he and his crew rented the space earlier to shoot a music video. Big Devil Energy, I think it's called. Anyway, the place is empty and available now, and it's remote, so here we are.
And here we are. Why?
It's more like the enemy of my enemy is my friend scenario. We have a Ra who moonlights at the Heritage Foundation and other think tanks, and he is reporting back some disturbing news that's brewing over at Heritage and other brain trusts.
Let me guess. They're on some Pinky and the Brain shit.
Let's just say their future plans go against the vision of the Eyes of Ra, and we think you'd like to know about it.
Okay. So what exactly are they up to?
A lot. So much so, I've taken the liberty to commission a video presentation that explains all the little moving parts. If you would, turn your attention to what we call the Exposition TV. It has all the answers you seek.
Listen, Fred. Why can't you just explain it instead of having us watch a video on a 12-inch television?
My unpaid interns spent hours preparing this, and I want to get my money's worth.
But you didn't pay.
Just watch.
Welcome to Exposition TV, brought to you by the Eyes of Ra. We call this episode Heritage Foundation. What the fuck? Our story begins in the late 1800s with America's favorite Indian killer, Old Hickory himself, Andrew Jackson, you know, the dude on the 20. According to radio host and author Tom Hartman, Jackson had elevated the practice of bribing the president to get federal jobs into an art form. It was called the spoils or patronage system and was insanely corrupt. It was also, by 1883, routine. In 1881, failed lawyer and former sex commune member Charles J. Guiteau assassinated President James A. Garfield because Guiteau firmly believed he was owed a government job because in his mind, a few speeches he had given in support of Garfield had been crucial to the president's election. After Garfield's Secretary of State told Guiteau to get out and never return, Guiteau shot and killed Garfield at a railroad station in Washington, D.C. To combat future Guiteau's Garfield successor, President Chester Arthur worked to remove the bribery and corruption of executive branch jobs by passing the Civil Service Reform Act of 1883. According to Tom Hartman,
this new act separated all those government jobs from the administration in power, turning federal workers from patrons of the president into permanent bureaucrats whose first loyalty was to the nation instead of the guy who happened to be in the White House at any particular time. It also outlawed bribing the president for a job. The goal, which it accomplished and has held for 140 years, was to end corruption in the bureaucratic branches of the federal government.
This layer of government-loyal bureaucrats later became known as the administrative state, and in 1971, a conservative lawyer named Lewis Powell felt that this branch of bureaucrats and other elements of American society were hampering corporate profits. He wrote,
"No thoughtful person can question that the American economic system is under broad attack. But what now concerns us is quite new in the history of America. We are not dealing with sporadic or isolated attacks from a relatively few extremists, or even from the minority socialist cadre. Rather, the assault on the enterprise system is broadly based and consistently pursued. It is gaining momentum and converts. The most disquieting voices joining the chorus of criticism come from perfectly respectable elements of society. From the college campus, the pulpit, the media, the intellectual and literary journals, the arts and sciences, and from politicians."
Because Powell felt that corporate pockets were being picked by misguided ideologues, he proposed that the Chamber of Commerce and other corporate entities fight back by financing the influence and takeover of these so-called respectable elements. In the years to follow, the Powell memo inspired corporations and their allies to spend billions on cornering societal elements such as media, political parties, college campuses, secondary education, the Christian church, and the court system, including the Supreme Court, a court on which President Richard Nixon conveniently placed Powell himself. Sitting on the highest court of the land, Powell was able to rubber stamp many of the ideas he laid out in his infamous memo.
How you like me now?
According to Hartman,
in addition to decisions gutting the powers of unions and deregulating industry, Powell's major achievement was authoring the 1978 Boston v. Bilotti decision that struck down hundreds of state and federal anti-corruption laws, explicitly allowing corporations and their senior officers to bribe politicians for the first time in American history.
Andrew Jackson must have been smiling from the grave. In 1980, the Heritage Foundation created a plan called the Mandate for Leadership, which was a blueprint on how to transform the United States into a right-wing utopia.
That's the plan.
Newly elected President Ronald Reagan embraced this mandate, which resulted in the Reagan administration dismantling antitrust laws, scrapping the fairness doctrine in media, which gave equal time to opposing views, cutting taxes for the rich from 74% to 27%, and erasing the effective powers of the EPA, the Department of Education, and the Department of Labor. And now the Heritage Foundation is at it again.
Are you kidding me?
This time, it's called Project 2025. And what do these corporate conservatives want this time?
What do you want now?
According to Paul Don, the director of the project, the plan proposes to kill off federal efforts that may inhibit the profits of the fossil fuel industry and the billionaires it's created who are helping fund both the GOP and Heritage. And how does Project 2025 propose to safeguard those billionaire profits made by the fossil fuel industry? By getting rid of the administrative state and placing almost all executive power into the hands of the next president, And for the Heritage Foundation, that is presumably the current GOP frontrunner Donald J. Trump. This means they want to eradicate the Civil Service Reform Act of 1883 and fire all bureaucrats who don't mind billionaire greed or an occasional oil spill. In fact, they want to, in their words,
to march into office and bring a new army of aligned, trained, and essentially weaponized conservatives ready to do battle against the deep state.
They want Trump or someone like him to have complete control over the Department of Justice and the FBI. Trump has already indicated that if re-elected, he wants to give out indictments to his enemies like Oprah gives out cars to her studio guests. They want Trump or someone like him to control the Federal Reserve. You know, the people who print and control the money. They want Trump or someone like him to control the Federal Communications Commission, which would allow the president to shut down or censor any broadcast, cable, or social media company who broadcasts opinions that disagree with his policies or claim that his ass looks fat in a Julius Caesar costume. They want Trump or someone like him to also control the Federal Trade Commission, which has, according to Hartman, the power to grant billion-dollar favors or inflict severe punishments on companies. Said companies would lose their independence because these sticks and carrots could be used to reward or destroy companies that have earned the favor or wrath of the president. The Heritage Foundation also wants to win the culture war in nuclear fashion. They want to ban abortion at the federal level, censor the CDC, ban critical race theory, ban sex education, ban LGBTQIA and transgender rights, and to ban anything they consider to be woke. Americans who don't go along will be subject to fines and arrest. In other words, the Heritage Foundation, along with over 40 other conservative think tanks, are advocating for a right-wing dictatorship. And if current poll numbers hold, that dictator could very well be Donald Trump. Trump has already indicated that his next term will be a revenge tour and is boldly speaking the hush-your-mouth parts right into the mic.
That means that if I win and somebody wants to run against me, I call my attorney general, I say, listen, indict him. Well, he hasn't done anything wrong that we know. I don't know, indict him on income tax evasion, you'll figure it out.
It's not hyperbole this time. Fascism is knocking at our nation's door. Will America turn the knob and let it in?
Wow.
Tell your interns that I like their presentation. Nice production values. You know they should be getting dollar bills.
That's a lot to take in, but I'm still a bit confused. Even though this plan gives a lot of power to the next president, we all know the real powers behind the White House are wealthy donors. Donors like you, Fred. This is virtually a right-wing, supervillain wet dream. So why are you plotting against it?
You're right. And normally I wouldn't. But here's one more thing they want to do. Take a look at this promotional video that they've yet to release to the public.
Pornography has no claim to First Amendment protection. Its purveyors are child predators and misogynistic exploiters of women. Their product is as addictive as any illicit drug and as psychologically destructive as any crime. Pornography should be outlawed. The people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned. Educators and public librarians who purvey it should be classed as registered sex offenders, and telecommunications and technology firms that facilitate its spread should be shuttered.
So, you're okay with energy corporations having free rein to pollute the planet? Okay with trampling over the civil rights of marginalized people? And okay with making Donald Trump king of America? But making porn illegal is a bridge too far?
Keeping porn legal. That's not for me. It's for my older brother. He has a thing for BBC hotwife cuckold, and I don't want him going to prison under some puritanical regime hell-bent on witch-hunting anyone with a Pornhub account.
Unfrickin' real.
Yes, you could say that. But now you're up to speed. Take the information and do what you people do. Deep dive it on your show, break it down, do your skits. Let America know. They're coming for porn, no pun intended. But you might want to write that one down.
Thanks for watching The Super Show till the end. This is a one-person production company, so if you want more of this kind of content, please support the channel by hitting like and subscribe. Also, click that bell notification button and tell your friends to watch the show. In the meantime, always remember to think for yourself and have a day that's super.